Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. We're almost at 201,000 subs. It's because of you. To my super chat, I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second live stream this evening. And the Twitter Files Part 5 will be out Monday, so they postponed it. Lindsay, hello. Caroline, hello. Paul Bartlett, thank you so very much for starting off the super chat as always. Your support is greatly appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. They showed that government got involved. Government and employees at Twitter conspired, worked with one another to silence and suppress the truth about the Democratic Party. We'll talk about that. The truth about Democrats makes you vote Trump or DeSantis. The truth about, think about that, the truth about one political party is so detrimental to their ambitions, they would have no problem erasing the First Amendment. Think about that for a second. Hit subscribe. Become a member of this channel. If you want to become part of a newsletter, notification of a newsletter, go to hagoodman.com. And if you emailed me at contactgoodman88, which is my email, if you can just go to hagoodman.com and then subscribe there, that'll be greatly appreciated. If you want to become part of a notification or newsletter to just be informed via email when we have these live streams or anything interesting that's taking place. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. Really quickly, before we talk about the Twitter Files 1 through 5, media is desperate to downplay, to just ignore these revelations. The arrogance is profound. So Rolling Stone, Twitter Files 3 on Trump ban proves trilogies are a letdown. Let's read this for a second. The third installment repackages old information leading... No, it doesn't. It doesn't repackage any old information. That's the template. Well, we already knew this. No, we did not know the Federal Bureau of Investigation was meeting weekly with Twitter employees. No, we did not know that Twitter executives had to fabricate rules to suspend or ban Trump. No, we did not know any of this. We did not know that Twitter employees and officials prior to Elon Musk were deliberately amplifying accounts based on political party and silencing Twitter accounts based on political party. If you were a conservative, if you were a Republican or Trump Republican especially, your account was silenced in a variety of different ways. People couldn't see what you were tweeting, or you were just banned after a couple of mistakes. They fall back on bureaucratic protocol, and then when they don't have the actual bureaucracy, when they don't have the guidelines, which is what we learned in the Twitter Files 1 through 4, when they don't have actual guidelines, they'll just make up guidelines and protocol, and they will just make up rules and regulations. They'll fabricate, they'll completely create something new because Trump is such a menace. So they were working with government officials. So Aaron, hello. Caroline, Kristen, Eric Samurai, Gus, everyone here, thank you. Paul Bartlett, thank you again. Angie, thank you so very much. Thank you, Angie. Paul Bartlett, thank you in Australia, Paul. Let's continue. So Axios, the Twitter Files are a Rorschach test. No, they're not. No, they're not. The Twitter Files are objectively an example of tyranny, an example of censorship, an example of one political side lying as always or as usual and telling you don't believe your lying eyes. These people within media, there are individuals within media, individuals within Twitter, individuals within the United States government that worked together to create a hysteria around Trump. They blamed him for January, but they couldn't do so in a court of law, so they did so in the court of public opinion and banned him. And it helped their political cause. And that's why they did it, because it helped them politically. It had nothing to do with saving lives or people or whatever. So the Twitter files, a set of internal documents shared by purports to share an objective history. It is an objective history, but instead it's become a political Rorschach test. No. It's not become a political Rorschach test. What it has become is the truth, and then the truth is then too much for the people who censored. So who are the people censoring Trump? Democrats. Were they lying? Yes. Did they censor him because it benefited politically? Yes. Okay. Who are the people doing this? Who are the people calling Trump an authoritarian? These were Democrats acting like authoritarians and totalitarians. This is what happens. This is, okay, I don't know if George Orwell would have voted Trump, but he certainly would have despised the Democratic Party. This is the textbook definition of Orwellian. You are suppressing information under the guise of it possibly misinforming people. To misinform is a subjective viewpoint. Chris, hello. To misinform is a subjective viewpoint. Thunder, it's tomorrow. They postponed it till Monday. So we're going to talk about Twitter files 1 through 4. The Twitter files 5 will be out Monday. They postponed it to Monday. So this article, on the right, on the left, on the right, Twitter files are being held as proof that Twitter took deliberate actions to limit access to information and voices that could damage Democrats. This is true. The most salient argument here is that Twitter put its thumb on the scale by removing certain prominent accounts. This is true. Even if the intent wasn't partisan, the impact was. The intent was completely partisan. The intent was not only partisan, it was gleeful. They had a zeal, a fervor, they were like obsessed with this. It wasn't just, God, we're so apolitical and we care so much about the Constitution. It's just too bad we have to actually ban Trump. No. They gleefully did that because they could. On the left, Twitter files are being dismissed. It's much ado about nothing, or at least about things that the company disclosed years ago. The company never disclosed any of this stuff. This is what Democrats do. Left does this all the time. They get caught. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. Oh, well, we already knew that Bernie Sanders was being, that they liked Hillary more. No. Debbie Wasserman Schultz said it was fair and neutral, and then they did everything possible to railroad and mistreat Bernie Sanders to ensure that he lost, because they had a favored candidate. And in a court of law, DNC attorneys said, well, we could pick our candidate. We don't even need a primary. So why even vote in a primary? Same thing with Twitter. Jack Dorsey, if this is already not that big of a deal, then why did he almost certainly lie under oath? Why did these Twitter officials go on Joe Rogan with Tim Pool and say, God, we have nothing to do with, right or left. We just do so. We just ban people based on, our rules, which are always changing, by the way. So they stacked the deck, exactly, and they did even more than that. They actually created playing cards that only benefited them. Defenders note that Twitter's terms of service says the company limits certain post reach. That is not on the left of Twitter files. That is not a defense. It doesn't say that the company limits reach in the case of political ideology. They add that Weiss provided anecdotes rather than a comprehensive investigation, so it's impossible to conclude that such limitations was not. What? It is absolutely not only possible if you've read the Twitter files, and we've done this pretty good job, I think, on this channel, 1 through 4, and we'll do 5 tomorrow, and we'll have 2 live streams tomorrow, one in the evening at 5:45 also, and then one at night as well, and I'll have an upload in the morning. There's, without a shadow of a doubt, a deliberate attempt to silence adversaries or opponents of the Democratic Party, Trump Republicans, Trump in general. There was an attempt to do that, and they were very successful. They banned Trump because it benefited the Democratic Party. They didn't ban Trump because, it was just, a tough call and they had to just, decide. They didn't really, it's not like they didn't want to. They definitely wanted to ban Trump. They definitely wanted to ban Trump. And so you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where cognitive dissonance, yes, yet again, is like, in the middle. For most users, more interested in the word, their view of the Twitter files may be determined by whichever take is shared most in their feed. No, see, again, these are groundbreaking revelations. Okay? This is hilarious. Elon Musk's basic understanding of the free speech is a problem for all of us. Oh, really? Okay. Why would it be a problem for all? This is hilarious. So, since his takeover of Twitter, Elon Musk has insisted over and over again that one of his major goals for the massive social media platform is to protect right. That's a noble aspiration. The problem is that his behavior increasingly suggests either that he has no idea what that means, or even worse, he does, and he's just not being honest. What are you? This is hilarious. Musk and the Twitter Files journalists explained that Democrats were censoring Republicans and silencing the New York Post because it hurt Democrats. Either way, Musk and those who have somehow been persuaded that he knows what he's talking about, somehow people out there lacking the mental capacity to understand Democrats and would never silence their critics, could use a crash course in what does and what doesn't violate the First Amendment. Ooh, let's go. Let's see if we can learn. Let's start with the so-called Twitter files. Okay, the so-called Twitter files. They're not so-called Twitter files, they are the Twitter files. Jeff, man! Jeff! They have tried to shut us up and it has been it has. The Romans used to intimidate 4 or 5 members of a community and the rest won't speak up. Exactly, Jeff. Exactly. Great point. Great use of history. Exactly. And they were effective, you're right. Jeff, great point. They were very effective. And they were able to accomplish, well, I don't know how much they accomplished. They ran the country into the ground, but they were able to impose speech, decorum, a very bizarre decorum, like a very dystopian type of civility or sensibility, these bizarre sensibilities that everyone had to adopt, and if you didn't, it was like a horrible thing. Let's start with the so-called Twitter files. Last week, Musk, together with Matt Taibbi, Thursday, we got a second installment courtesy of Barry Weiss. Last week, Musk, together with Matt Taibbi, released the first installment, a trove of documents supposedly demonstrating that Twitter had inappropriately suppressed materials relating to Hunter Biden's laptop in the run-up at the request of individuals associated with the Biden campaign. This is true. This is what happened. In his own tweets, Musk made 2 claims about the First Amendment. First, he wrote that Twitter acting by itself to suppress free speech is not a First Amendment violation, but acting under orders from government to suppress speech with no judicial review is. This is what happened. Second, in response to another tweet about what one of Taibbi's supposed breakthroughs, Musk rhetorically asked if this isn't a violation of the Constitution's First Amendment, what is? In both cases, Musk claims that the Biden campaign's request to have tweets taken down constituted not just a violation of the First Amendment, but an egregious one. In every possible respect, Musk is wrong, says MSNBC. Try to hold your laughter for a moment. The Free Speech Clause in the First Amendment, like virtually every provision of the Constitution, applies only to state action. A private business no more violates the First Amendment by banning particular types of speech in its operations than I violate the First Amendment by not allowing particular types of speech in my home. Wrong. The Federal Bureau of Investigation met with Twitter officials every week, almost every week. We found this out. We did not know this. So No mention of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I don't believe, in this article. No mention of Department of Homeland. No mention of the third-party tech firm or public relations firm that House Democrats used to intimidate Twitter officials, who, by the way, didn't need to be intimidated, but to coerce Twitter officials. Pony Soldier, thank you! Pony Soldier, thank you so very, very much. Jeff Mann, great point. Pony Soldier, thank you again. So, on the first point here, government got involved. That's the problem. That's the problem. Government did get involved. Government agencies were meeting with top-level Twitter employees all the time before January. So don't bring up January as a pretext or excuse. Government officials were meeting with Twitter employees, and now the Twitter file journalists and Elon Musk have told the world which Twitter employees worked with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and other agencies. This is no longer a question mark. If you were to say that government got involved, they would say, oh my God, it's conspiratorial. You're making things up. It's not true. We just found that out. We just found that out. Okay? We just found that out. This is why this is so important, because you have specific government officials getting involved. And this was before any official investigation of Trump. Trump was not under any investigation prior to November or January. Okay, he wasn't under any, the Mueller probe had ended, he wasn't under any official investigation. So now explain to me why the Federal Bureau of Investigation or Homeland or any other agency met with Twitter. You know, and again, like, just as a disclaimer, we need the FBI. We need the FBI to protect the country from serious dangers. So, I mean, most people at the FBI, I'm sure, are fantastic, wonderful, good people who care about the Constitution of the country. For people who take a political side, who happen to be at the Bureau, they are doing the country a disservice. If they're meeting with Twitter to deceive or to manipulate Twitter, to get Twitter to do something because they know that Hunter Biden's laptop will be a huge story that will get millions of people possibly, or hundreds of thousands of people to vote for Trump, when those people might not have voted for Trump, that's a huge problem. Okay, a big problem. That's government getting involved. But here, a private business. And although some have suggested in recent years social media, like Twitter, ought to be treated, the Supreme Court, in one of its recent guidelines, lucid, thus it settled law that Twitter acting by itself cannot violate the First Amendment, no matter what it does. Wrong, because it didn't act by itself. We know from the Twitter Files 4.0 that they were meeting with government officials. Okay, and we don't even know really the extent. The extent thus far we know is already incriminating. If the response is, well, those government officials didn't tell Twitter to do anything, then why did they suspend Trump? You can't have government officials suspend a person who hasn't been accused in a court of law of breaking the law. That's not legal. That is illegal. So don't say that government wasn't involved, because government was involved. That brings us to Musk. So the first point here is null and void and is not a rational viewpoint. We know that government agencies, not just the Bureau, Homeland, likely others. We also know that Biden's campaign, if you want to say, well, Biden wasn't in office, he was still, he was still, Biden's campaign and former intel officials got involved. You can make a case that's the United States government. But if you want to say, well, they're not technically in the government, then House Democrats did get involved by sending a third-party tech firm to intimidate, Twitter officials with a very sharply worded letter saying, well, you know, Twitter's going to be investigated if they allow information that misinforms. It's all out in the open, MSNBC. There's really nothing you can say other than try to pretend. See, their argument here has nothing to do with what it was actually revealed, so that's why they have these arguments. They don't bring up the fact that government was involved here. That brings us to Musk's insinuation that it was action because it was acting under orders from the government. There are at least two problems here, both of which would have been caught by any first-year law student. First, the Supreme Court made clear for decades the government normally can be held responsible for a private corporation when it has exercised coercive power or provided such significant encouragement, either overt or covert, that the choice must in law be deemed to be that of the government actor. It is understood the government requests of private entities don't meet this test absent proof of the private entity did not believe it had any choice but to comply. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. If you know very well that, if you're a government agency and you know very well that Twitter officials need a pretext to silence Trump, and then you give them that pretext, government is involved. So, and I don't know, like this. I don't know if the Supreme Court, I don't know how many precedents there are of Twitter or a digital cyber global platform being influenced by House Democrats sending a public relations or polling firm to write a sharply worded letter saying you're going to be investigated if you allow the Hunter Biden story to be published. They always try to skirt the line, and they always try to, well, we didn't really say that. It's all, and they're very good at it too. They're very good at it. That's why Durham couldn't get anything done, because he tried to pretend he was the Mueller probe, and the Mueller probe didn't get anything done, but public relations, like indictments or prosecutions, the Mueller probe was about Trump working with the Kremlin. That never happened. Ever. That was a fantasy of Democrats. The Durham probe was about loyalists working against Trump and the government. That did happen. But again, like you're talking about, Durham went after people for specific cases of lying. That's different from a whole bunch of people were after Trump. And so then when the naysayers, or when people say, oh, well, you see, Durham didn't do anything. Okay, fine. But we found out through the indictments that Hillary was involved with everything. They don't even deny that. We found out that the Bureau was utilizing information that was completely false to investigate Trump. It wasn't information that misinformed, it was completely false information. Even the most conspiratorial reading of the Twitter files fails to uncover such evidence. No, it doesn't. Normally, first, the Supreme Court made clear for decades the government normally can be held responsible for a private decision only when it has exercised coercive power. It did exercise coercive power. What do you think meeting every week? What do you think making a huge point to say another country is going to want, it might come out with information detrimental to Democrats. Oh, we have to save our democracy. What do you think that means? That is coercion. Second, for those who are inclined, and this is why they suspended the New York Post, because they said, well, it was another country. It could have been another country. They wanted you to know how bad Democrats were, as always. It's just always another country that wants you to know how terrible Democrats are. So, second, for those who are inclined to assume compulsion, even without evidence, the order has to come from the government. In October, the order has to come from the government, so then the government officials meeting with Twitter, that's not enough. I don't think there has to be a handwritten note from the president. So I don't know, like in October, I love how MSNBC is so desperate to defend censorship. These are liberals, by the way. The liberals love censorship. Oh my God, they love it. They love it so much. Because the truth is bad for them politically. So if the truth about Trump came up, you better believe they wouldn't care if like Vladimir and Moscow, they wouldn't care if like it was like airmailed from any part of the world. They would open it up and, oh, well, that's it. Sorry. As long as it hurts Trump. In October, when neither Biden nor Biden campaign were the government. That's a point, but he had Secret Service, so there was simply no question presidential candidates are not currently holding public office are not state actors for constitutional purposes. Um, okay, and did they coordinate with people within the U.S. government? Almost certainly. I mean, these people, like, you have to understand, they're so Democrats are like the movie Catch Me If You Can. They engage in the most deceitful, manipulative, shady, corrupt, surreptitious tactics, and they're like, "Well, you can't prove, ooh, you can't prove that we broke First Amendment laws." It's like everybody knows what you did, and everybody knows government was involved. You found ways to manipulate the situation. Yeah, you're never going to find handwritten notes saying, "Go use the Steele dossier against Trump," or "We knew it's nonsense, but we're still going to investigate Trump." Well, wait a second. Exactly, Kamala Harris was a U.S. senator, but the request in question didn't come from her, so she was part of the ticket. You just, as we'd say in the '80s, moted yourself. And individual members of Congress acting by themselves have no power to compel anyone to do anything. Oh yeah, they do. Oh yeah, they do. What are you talking about, individual members of Congress? Amy Klobuchar and everybody else write letters to social media platforms. Are you kidding? True Biden could be said to be the government. Yeah, so that was, so again, they moted themselves. So after going into February, any censorship was the government then. But the putative scandal here is, no. The putative scandal is also what happened after he was president, because there was silencing. So actually, this article is fantastic. It's actually a roadmap to address government involvement after Biden was elected into the Oval Office. I apologize. I apologize. Um, so Musk's double-layered misunderstanding, or maybe MSNBC has the misunderstanding of the First Amendment, has similarly informed his belated reaction to the rise of bad speech. The rise of bad speech should be blocked and muted or defeated through rational thought. The most vile and disgusting speech took place while actually Musk stated that type of speech is down. So Musk claimed his policy is to spend here. He has the First Amendment wrong. The other direction, the offensives as they are. That's okay. So now they're defending. Now this is hilarious. Now the liberal argument is defending what liberals find, well, what everyone finds to be the most egregious, but the argument is correct, but at the same time, government did get involved. Individuals may not have a First Amendment right to post them wherever they want, but that's again that. It's not exactly news that an eccentric billionaire with no formal legal training. Everybody knows that First Amendment laws were broken. Everybody knows from these emails that specific individuals were working with government, and that government, whether it was House Democrats or individual agencies, teamed up to ensure that a story detrimental to Democrats was banned because it helped them politically. Okay, and at the end of the day, the fact that any corporation would side with Democrats to silence the truth is a problem that, of course, Democrats don't even care about. They're like totally fine with it. They're totally fine with it. And you know what? You know what? Here's the reality of the situation. Okay. The reality is, like Jeff Mann said, they were successful. They were successful. They were very successful. By the way, if you're watching, hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. First, Musk himself claimed that one of the goals is to increase free speech. If his definition of free speech is radically different from the current state of general public and constitutional discourse, it sure would behoove him to explain how and why. What? How and why regarding what? His definition of speech, increase free speech is a good thing, meaning not banning anyone just because of a political bias. And second, because his impact and influence must patent misunderstanding. The opposite is true. What the First Amendment does and doesn't protect, and to whom it does and doesn't apply, and the actions he wrongly takes in response perpetuate misunderstandings about those who believe he has some special claim to it. Yeah, he does have some special claim. As a Twitter file document dump continue, it's clear that Musk not only lacks such expertise, he also seems wholly uninterested in developing one. That's the typical argument by Democrats or by morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats. They don't address the elephant in the room or the reality. They don't address certain inconvenient truths like government agencies were meeting with Twitter employees. Okay? This is within the Twitter files. Okay? The article could have addressed that. It didn't. It didn't because it would undermine the premise of the article, which was, oh, well, government wasn't involved. Well, government was very much involved. And if the Federal Bureau of Investigation said, be careful, there's going to be interference, and that was the pretext to suspend the New York Post, that's still a problem. Because there was no evidence that the New York Post did anything wrong or that the laptop was interference by any other country. It was the truth. It was the truth. It's called manipulation. These people needed a pretext. That's all. It's just all they need is a pretext. All they needed was a pretext. They just needed a pretext. They needed an excuse. If you look at the Twitter files, here's one major example. Let's look at Matt Taibbi. You know what? I think Bari Weiss part 2. No, I think it was Matt Taibbi part 1. So here is part 1. It's right here. Let's see. There were House Democrats that used a third party, because that's what they usually do. They do that all the time. So here you have government involvement. Asked if they could just say partnerships after a pause. He says, not sure we describe the government agencies as experts. So there you go. Met weekly with government officials. Weekly with government officials. And there was actually, I'm trying to see if, I don't know if it was Twitter Files 1 or 2, but they used a third-party firm. They used a third-party firm. By the way, to my super chat, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Pony Soldier, thank you. So hold on one second. They also allowed egregious speech, or speech they felt was information that is misinformed by Democrats. The same thing said by Republicans, no way. Hold on one second. So I think it was Bari Weiss, Twitter Files 2. Let's look at Twitter Files 2. Obi, hello. Debbie, hello. All right, so they were silencing Charlie Kirk, Dan Bongino, but here is, I'm trying to find out the third-party tech firm or the public relations firm. I mean, you have people getting, I mean, you have criminal activity taking place against conservatives and nothing was done. Huh. Where was that? I forgot where it was, but there was a third party tech firm. There was a third party tech firm. It was like a public relations firm. So it was a public relations firm. And what happened was they wrote a sharply worded letter saying if you allow something like the Hunter Biden story, um, then you're going to be investigated. Oi, oi! I can't promise to say anything, even for a super chat, if it hurts the channel or like if I'm unable to say it. I wish I could, but these are, that's the world, unfortunately, we live in. That's why the Twitter files are so important. So that's the issue. There will be lawsuits. Shane, there will be lawsuits. Trump's going to sue again. I talked about that today. He'll definitely sue again. Let's look at Twitter Files 3. Yeah, subscribe to Matt Taibbi's Substack, everybody. Subscribe to all their Substacks. Let's see. So, Twitter executives getting a kick out of intensified relationships with federal agencies. So there goes that MSNBC argument. And the interesting thing with, oh, I just read this. The interesting thing is information that misinforms is subjective. Obviously, a Democrat is going to say that any information that shows corruption or points to corruption within the Democratic Party is, um, you know, any information that points to corruption um, is information that misinforms. You know. Could still mislead people, could still mislead people. They're so worried about misleading people, meaning they're so worried about suspicion, skepticism. These are about sensibilities, ladies and gentlemen. Then they have the caution. Caution! This could mean that you might be suspicious. Um, it was just one tweet, but that's really important. God, I don't know which one it is, but it was a tweet where House Democrats used a polling firm. I mean, the best thing if you need to get a lawyer, get an attorney, because it doesn't matter like what you tell anyone online. You shouldn't tell people anything online. You shouldn't let people know. If, for example, you're banned off of Twitter, okay, and it's wrong, don't go ahead online and tell people what happened, because then former Twitter employees, or if you're suing people personally, or you're suing Twitter, the corporation, for what it had done, you want to give evidence to the attorney, and you want the attorney to go ahead and, because now you have the Twitter files. There is a journalist who sued Twitter and won before the Twitter files. So I would suggest if you have evidence of them banning you, or just go to an attorney and try to see if you could, like, you can get some kind of deal where if you don't have the money to pay the attorney, like what is it, he takes a percentage of the settlement, instead of you paying every an arm and a leg every month. But as the November approached, senior executives, perhaps under pressure from federal agencies with whom they get more, with whom they met more as time progressed, increasingly struggled with rules and began to speak of Vios as pretext to do what they'd likely have done anyway. So they were just making things up. They were just making things up. There was one very, very courageous journalist who sued Twitter before the Twitter files and won. So later indicate his weekly conference with federal law enforcement involved separate meetings. Here he going first to an Aspen Institute thing, then take call out. So I mean, these people were enamored with power. They were so enamored with power. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, you can't. That's government getting involved right then and there. The government is saying silence this tweet. I mean, so the MSNBC article is completely wrong. An MSNBC article is just completely wrong. That's right. Church of Not Nothing. That's right. I would contact that journalist and tell that journalist, Church of Not Nothing, I would contact that journalist if I needed to tell a journalist or an attorney my story about how Twitter, mistreated me or, blocked me went before Elon Musk. But you know what? I'm trying to get this thing. Where is. Huh. Part two. Where is that? Huh. Did I do part one? He did part one. Okay, so hold on one second. Part one. Oh, okay. So let's see if I can get. So let's see if I can get. If government agencies are literally telling Ron, hello. If government agencies are telling Twitter to silence specific tweets without the person having committed a crime, that's a big problem. That's amore. That's a big problem. That's a First Amendment violation. That is a First Amendment violation. So, I mean, you have it right there. Let's see. Here it is. Here it is! Finally, people. Within a day, the head of public policy receives a ghastly letter report from the research firm sent by Congress, which had already polled 12 members of Congress, 9 R's and 3 D's, from the House Judiciary Committee. The House Judiciary is run by Democrats. And so Democrats got a third-party public relations firm gather intel about FB and Twitter and the New York Post story. Staffers hail from House Judiciary. Okay, so there you go. Intimidation is already starting. And if they want to say, well, there was intimidation doesn't mean a specific request. It's like you're intimidating. You're intimidating. Oi, thank you. You're intimidating Twitter officials. You're intimidating Twitter officials who, by the way, need a pretext. They don't really care. So you're not. The House Judiciary got involved. Okay? I mean, this isn't. You know what the worst trap is? The worst trap is trying to convince Democrats of their own treachery. Don't do it. I've been falling into that trap for the past 5 hours now. There's no point. There's no point to it. Okay? There's no reason to convince. Democrats will never, ever, ever admit, they will never admit that what they're doing or what they've done is First Amendment violation. By the way, Elon Musk very likely knows the First Amendment or the Constitution a lot better than a lot of the journalists who say, it's no big deal. And he probably knows a lot more than, like, if they're meeting government agencies, do you think maybe they're promising or they're like, there's more than just, do you think maybe there's more than just a meeting? Maybe coordination, maybe working alongside one another. The House Judiciary Committee is intimidating Twitter officials, and that's how they do things. I knew. Okay, let's Twitter know there would be a you-know-what bath awaits in upcoming Hill hearings, with members saying it's a tipping point, complaining tech has grown so big that even they can't regulate themselves. So there you go. There you go. Here you go. This is why I spent the past half hour trying to find this thing. The letter contains chilling passages relaying Democratic lawmakers' attitudes. They want more moderation, as the Bill of Rights is not absolute. Hillary Clinton did nothing wrong, and she did nothing wrong, but because the press wouldn't let the story go. It's like, no, the press. You had top secret intelligence on servers only in America. Like, you know the phrase "only in America." Only in America would this not be the most blatant violation of the law. I mean, the most blatant violation. Can you imagine if Trump had private servers? Could you imagine that? Can you imagine that? They have a letter from is this from the third party tech firm or what? The Democrats meanwhile complain that they let all truth relative. There you go. Okay, this I don't really believe. So, with all due respect, because those are true journalists, and I give just my opinion on most things. Although I've been published a lot, I'm not a journalist in the same mold as they are. Although I've done interviews but these are like true amazing journalists. An amazing subplot was how much was done without the knowledge of. But it doesn't matter. He could have reversed everything, or he didn't have to give his tacit approval. He's giving tacit approval. So the letter. So you have Congress, the government interfering. The government was interfering. And here's yet another example. So, So let's see. The letter contains chilling passages relaying Democratic lawmakers' attitudes. They want more moderation, and as for the Bill of Rights, it's not absolute. Yeah, there are laws predating Twitter. Okay? There are laws predating Twitter. So there are laws already that regulate the First Amendment and that protect people from harmful speech. You don't need Twitter or any of the morally superior sensibilities of wonderful liberal Democrats who ran Twitter, or government officials, agencies that literally influenced Twitter weekly, probably daily, breaking First Amendment law because government agencies and government officials were influencing speech. You don't need any of these people to tell you what's true. You certainly don't need them to tell you that Hunter's laptop isn't a big deal, because it's a much more incriminating. That is a story that points directly to criminality and to that is a story that points directly to felonies. This is the beginning of impeachment. This is the beginning of impeachment, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do a poll. Okay. Um, so here you go. How will GOP use Twitter files 1 through 5 to begin impeachment proceedings? Because they will. Subpoena Twitter employees or testimony from, subpoena Twitter employees or testimony from agencies. So, because these, exactly, high tones, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, all 400 people, give me your thoughts on the poll. Because you're going to have, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have impeachment. There will be an impeachment. Okay? Without a shadow of a doubt, there will be an impeachment. Without a shadow of a doubt. And it's going to start with all of this information. Like, Trump's going to sue them again. And by the way, you think maybe there's more information that these journalists and Elon Musk, you think maybe Elon Musk has a lot more information on this than we know? I'm not into the argument that, oh, you just wait, there's so much more. But there's probably a great deal more. There's probably a great deal more, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason there's a great deal more is that some of it right at this moment can't be released because, there has to be like an understanding throughout the country or within the national consciousness that, yeah, government did get involved. So now Democrats, reality is hitting them hard, and they're saying, well, government didn't get involved. Well, here we have prime examples of government getting involved. House Democrats and the Judiciary Committee getting involved. The Bureau, Homeland, all of these agencies getting involved. These are laws being broken. And this will be the basis for impeachment. Exactly, Sheila, great point. He admits it's a crime scene. To my super chat, thank you again. Jeff, thank you. S23, exactly. Stop, listen, think, hello. Exactly, John. Timing isn't everything. PH, hello. So, I just want Hillary Clinton to be Democratic nominee. I just think that the country has been through too much, and we have to kind of Steeler girl, hello. The country has been through too much. We need to just have a rematch. And I'd like Trump Hillary, but if it's DeSantis Hillary, that'd be fantastic. I want Trump Hillary, but Trump has to take advantage of this because government did get involved. Irish, yes. He probably is thinking of legal repercussions at this very moment. So he has to introduce all of these. Tim Riley, thank you. Thank you. He has to kind of introduce this first. Once he introduces this in the public sphere, there has to be a discussion. John, Merry Christmas! Thank you, John. That's right. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. John, thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you. Fantastic. PH, thank you. Merry Christmas, John, to my super chat. Thank you so much. Greatly, 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 greatly appreciated. Yeah, I mean, you have a situation where we're there are probably, and John, thank you again. Jeff, thank you. Pony Soldier, thank you for being a member, and thank you as always. And to my super chat, thank you. There are probably a lot of, there are probably a great many legal hurdles. There are probably individuals within government that Elon Musk cannot disclose who they are. And by the way, MSNBC, as we used to say in the 80s, moted themselves. How they said, well, government wasn't involved and Biden wasn't Biden wasn't in government, but Kamala Harris was a senator. So they're like, but the request didn't come from her. It came from Biden-Harris ticket. She was still part of the ticket. Obviously, she's vice president. So they got themselves, they burned themselves in their own argument. I mean, it's kind of hilarious too. Like, unless you get a handwritten note, we, the Democratic Party, hereby want to silence free speech by banning Trump. Content moderation team at Twitter. This is the Democratic Party. We hereby, henceforth and forever, formally demand you ban Trump. And we want you to completely take an eraser and erase the First Amendment, well, the Second Amendment for sure, the First Amendment. Signed, the Democrats. And Hillary and Bill. Unless you get that, they will never admit to anything. Unless you get that, they'll never admit to anything. You can't prove anything. The government wasn't involved. Oh, yes, it was, actually. Government was involved. Too bad now. You can't prove anything. You can't prove anything. Kimberly, thank you. Mary, Gus. Mary, thank Miss. Unless you get unless you get a handwritten note, because they're not going to admit to anything. You can rest assured that ain't happening. Greatness, thank you. Exactly, Irish. Exactly. Exactly. They just want to see now the court cases. These aren't the drawers you're looking for. Scam flicks. Exactly. Exactly. These are not the drawers you're looking for. These aren't the drawers we're looking for. No PhD. Hello. Exactly. The interesting thing about all of this is now court cases and judges have the evidence. So the evidence is now out there. Exactly. The evidence is now out there, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, I want Trump. Debbie, everybody here, I want Trump. But you know what? It's like, I want him, but at the same time, if DeSantis proves himself, it's all good. But I do want Trump. I just want him to get out of his slump. He's in a little bit of a slump now. He's in a bit of a slump now. So here's that example. Okay. Here's that example. Elon Musk, by the way, is just like, he's doing a Trump, but he's doing it in a different way. So Trump just bashed sacred cows, false idols. Donald Trump took a sledgehammer to false idols. But those false idols teamed up. Now Elon Musk is launching like one of his rockets, or I don't even know. He's like launching the rocket with the false idol right next to the exhaust. He's like, go ahead and start the rocket, and put the false idol and sacred cow. Put the sacred cow near the underneath the rocket. Yeah, right there. Thank you. I do a pretty good Elon Musk. How is the Elon Musk? How is my Elon Musk, people? Is it good? Is this mic on? Is this mic on? Ah. Is this mic on? I'm cracking myself up. Is this mic working? Can anyone hear me? I'll be here all week. Try the veal. Thank you. Boney Soldier, thank you. I do a pretty good Elon Musk. I have to actually, nice, Ed, thank you. Twitter Files 75 will be coming out soon. He should do Twitter Files every like he should do a Twitter Files 80, like up to 80. Could you imagine like the Twitter Files, like if it's like a Twitter Files 90, and like every single day like, it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, honestly, it's really not that big of a deal. This is media. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, honestly, you know what? It is what it is. And it's not that big of a deal. It's a Rorschach test. It's just what you see. I see a butterfly. You see a bison. It's really what you see. Every hour. Every hour, exactly. That would be good for my channel. I mean, he is. I tell you, all I want for Christmas is a prosecution of a very, oh, how should we say, a good bureaucrat, a company man, a yes man, a yes man. Or a no man if we're talking about Trump. He was a no man to Trump, but he was a yes man to Democrats. Nina, hello. Marion, thank you. Twitter files 14.5. A wonderful, this is a wonderful thing that Elon Musk did with the Twitter files. And they show massive corruption. And it's just too bad that Trump had to be banned. Actually, I'm part of the Twitter files. So they called me and I said, go ahead and ban him. Actually, I didn't. I said, how dare you? The First Amendment. No. Actually, I did. They called me up in the Senate and I said, go ahead and ban Trump. No, I didn't. I'm joking on that. I never did that. Love, love Rand Paul, love that. A Trump DeSantis ticket would be amazing, though. I think Mitch could read Pony Soldier exactly. Pony Soldier exactly. So yeah, I mean, be here tomorrow, everybody. Be here tomorrow for the live streams. I will have a live stream around 5:45 p.m. Sarah, hello. Depending on if the Twitter files come out in the afternoon, I'll have a live stream. So, um, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. To my super chat, I cannot thank you enough. Ladies and gentlemen, um, please go ahead, go to hagoodman.com and sign up for the notification newsletter. Um, please do so. And I'll be here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 5:45, and then a segment after. But I might do a live stream. I'll do an upload in the morning, but I might do a live stream earlier if the Twitter files are officially out. Give me your thoughts below. Thanks everybody. Twitter files 5.0 should be up Monday.